guys, and welcome to the stream. Happy Monday. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. We have much to discuss today. We're gonna Jen Psaki circle back on the Harrison Butker commencement speech that he gave at Benedictine College and go back to some of these more angry feminists, one of whom is a former cheerleader who worked alongside Harrison Butker. We'll touch on that. Plus, Biden went and gave his own commencement speech at Morehouse College, a historically black college, and he had to focus on that black part as much as he possibly could. We will discuss that. Plus, reparations are still in talks. Is $15 billion not enough? Some are saying so. Plus, a very funny video for somebody who's running for Secretary of State in Missouri, and her campaign ad is just absolutely insane. Lastly, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed, which now features a black samurai, Yasuke. And we'll talk about whether or not that's actually a reality. Some are calling it cultural appropriation. Others are saying this is a true black samurai and this is a win for video games. All that and more. But before that, we have Taylor in Nashville.
Hey guys, I don't know who started the favorite ice cream quiz in the countdown chat, but love that for you guys. For the record, mine is chocolate peanut butter. Amala, do you want to weigh in on this?
Oh, I'm so boring. Vanilla. No. I'm actually vanilla. No. Oh no, an unacceptable answer. If I say with a little bit of chocolate syrup, does that make it better? Probably not. I'm a
not
basic.
Really. No,
basic.
Weak. It's okay though.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Guys, we're going to be talking about Harrison Butker. You all know he had his now infamous speech at Benedictine College where he spoke to the graduates and essentially told the women, you've been sold some diabolical lies. Diabolical. That's a big word. That's a big, big word for that man. Just kidding. No, he did a great job at his speech. And he was speaking to a Catholic college and essentially said, hey, ladies, as much as you have achieved something in graduating right now, I just want to remind you, I have a wife. Her life began when she met me and started our family, and now she's a homemaker. Think about that, ponder it, pontificate on the matter. And the video went out to the internet, and people were pissed that he had the audacity, the gall, the confidence to say that at a college graduation. Now, let's recap on some of the feminist outrage, because there's more to come. And as I said, a former cheerleader who worked alongside Harrison Butker, cheering him on, is now bringing him down. Let's watch.
The kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has got to be the most sexist, white supremacist dick I have ever seen in my life.
Language warning, sorry.
Watch this.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
I fucking hate him.
It's unbelievable that at a time, this last football cycle, where all of these women are attracted to the NFL because of Taylor Swift. Right. And here's this incredibly successful woman, Taylor Swift, that has this amazing work ethic. And then I forget that this type of person exists everywhere. And this is evangelical Christianity. What he said is so disrespectful, to such a large portion of women, and it's so dismissive. I hope that he is canceled to hell and back, and I feel so sorry that his wife has to sleep with him.
Oh my gosh, it's so she's pissed. She's angry. It's so weird because it's almost like different types of people exist in the world who have different viewpoints on how they want to lead their lives. And sometimes the people with a specific viewpoint will go to a college that supports that viewpoint. And if it's a Catholic viewpoint, they'll go to like a Catholic institution, something like, I don't know, Benedictine College, and then they'll graduate from that Catholic institution and they'll bring a religious type figure to give the commencement speech and to talk about their values, which under the religious umbrella would be to find your husband, get married, create a family, and focus more on that than maybe other aspects of life that other women who maybe don't have that same viewpoint don't focus on. crazy. But cancel him. He's the worst NFL player ever. He's sexist, she said, which is really interesting considering I'm imagining his wife made the choice to be in the position that she's in. A white supremacist? I don't even know where that came from. And of course, she's pointing out his whiteness and his privilege and all this crazy stuff. My goodness, the dude can't catch a break. And she might get her way, right? Because she's like, oh, he needs to be canceled. And, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs need to do something about this. An actual petition was started after this speech went out. Mind you, other NFL players are, you know, brutalizing their wives. They're sexually assaulting women. You've had some murderers in there, some rapists, all these different things. But the guy who made the commencement speech at the Catholic college is the one who needs to be brought down. And they made this whole petition on change.org, which I'll show you here, that says, demand the Kansas City Chiefs to dismiss Harrison Butker for discriminatory remarks. 220,000 signatures out of the 300,000 goal. Not that the goal matters or is going to affect any change whatsoever, but 4,900 people signed it today. Taylor, what do you think about this?
Well, there's also the fact that the women's version of his jerseys have become the best-selling jersey in all of the NFL and are sold out as far as I understand. So there's, you know, two sides to that story. Also, just have to note, she said this is evangelical Christianity. He was definitely a Catholic. He's definitely a Catholic speaking at a Catholic school. So she's just wrong on the facts there. Not that there's like a tremendous difference in values there, but it's just kind of like a weird thing to invoke as this nefarious, you know, ideology behind things when you're not even placing it on the right one. And yeah, just invoking the privilege narrative. It's just tired. Like, I don't know who this person is or what podcast this is, what in the Real Housewives of, you know, woke Karenism is going on. But what else can you say about this is the expected sort of, you know, backlash that's going to come anytime someone espouses traditional values in, mind you, a setting that is meant for people who also share to those values. So you have a clip from that being posted on the internet, everyone from the outside looking in, criticizing it and imposing their values on it, and it's just silly.
Dude, without social media, this commencement speech would have went off. He would have played to a crowd perfectly because it's a crowd that wanted to hear what he had to say and agrees with him, and then nothing would have ever happened. But because you can now clip things and go on social media, it's like insane the amount of backlash this is getting from people who would have never been in that space in the first place, never been invited to listen to something like that, and would have never wanted to listen to something like that. It's like me going to church as somebody who does not believe, filming the proceedings of the church, posting it on the internet and be like, this is so disgusting what they said in church on Sunday. Yeah, no, obviously you're not going to agree with what was said in that setting because you have not placed yourself in that setting. And rightfully so, because you probably don't agree with Catholic values, and that's okay. Now, since this has gone viral, a former Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader who used to cheer on Mr. Harrison Butker himself has hopped onto TikTok to give her 2 cents on the matter. Let's watch.
Hey, Harrison. You know, we have several things in common. First and foremost, until a few months ago, we were both employed by the Kansas City Chiefs. I cheered you on for 6 years straight. And with that, I would assume we went to the same PR training. But since all of that obviously left your fucking brain when you went to go give that speech, I thought I'd be a good coworker. Share my notes. Let's get started. These are fucking vague. Biggest takeaway is you now represent a $1 billion organization. You are no longer just Harrison Butker. You are now Harrison Butker, who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. And anything you say or do that doesn't align with that brand, scissoring just like the lesbians you hated in that video, will be grounds for termination. Not entirely sure if that last part is gonna apply to you, but I guess we'll find out. A quick minute to dissect some of the language in your speech referring to abortion, IVF, euthanasia, and surrogacy as degenerate culture values. Do you see how that maybe doesn't align with the brand COVID fiasco? Now, I would assume you know what fiasco means, but just in case you don't, you're referring to the pandemic as a humiliating failure. You know, we had an entire fucking PR training on COVID, bro. We weren't supposed to talk about it. You referred to gay people as deadly sinners. The gays love football. We don't want to lose them as an audience, so you might want to reconsider.
Also, are there any gays listening right now? Do you love football? I don't know that I've ever heard that. I don't know that that's actually true at all. Like, I don't know that actually clocks. Anyways.
Calling them deadly sinners. Life begins when you become a wife and mother, skip ahead, that leans into her most important title of all, homemaker. You know, we're not going to unpack this from a PR standpoint, but I do want to let you know that the Kansas City Chiefs offer a therapist covered at 100%, both male and female, and I advise that you probably need to unpack that with both professionals. You called the president delusional? You know, I think the organization would let that one go. A lot of Republicans in Chiefs Kingdom. The best part of your speech?
Gosh.
When you said stay in your lane 10 plus times. Bruh, take your own advice. Kick some balls around, stay in your fucking lane. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this informational.
Okay, she's a peach. If you're hearing banging, by the way, there's like construction happening in the wall right behind me. So just bear that in mind if you hear this during the show.
That's actually me banging my head against the wall.
Yeah, no, absolutely nuts. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I'm going to keep harking on this point, but like he was invited to a place to give a specific type of speech, and that's the speech that he gave. And it's things that a lot of the stuff that he said, I don't personally agree with, and that's okay. I'm not going to freak out on the internet because he said something to an audience that agrees with him. I understand that the world is full of people with differing viewpoints, and some of those people work under, one organization or one group or company or team like the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's okay. I also think no matter how many people sign this petition, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be fine. I mean, we'll see. I think it would be even worse if the Kansas City Chiefs in the wake of this say, we're gonna get rid of him or condemn him for something that he said. We can have different opinions on these matters. Chill.
And like, PR standards they apply to some degree when you're out in the world because you're always representing the organization, if you will. But if you're invited to a Catholic university because you are a Catholic person who happens to be an NFL player, and it is totally fair game for you to give a speech that espouses Catholic values. So to try to be imposing this PR standards or this HR standards on Harrison, it gives this Karenism that is so cringeworthy and insufferable. And she's actually kind of ironically playing directly into the caricature of the insufferable, unhappy, angry, lonely woman that Harrison is warning his Catholic girls to not become by saying, don't put all your weight in the career and the titles that you might gain one day, and instead, give at least equal, if not more weight to the pursuit of family and marriage. And it's just ironic that this girl, and I told you earlier, I was looking at her TikToks, and she has one where she posts a picture of her parents who were in their 20s, got married, and she's like, this was my parents, and then here's me, and it's her in the backseat of the car trying to hold back from vomiting because she was day drinking the night before and needed her parents to give her a ride at 30 years old. So how's that working out for you, I guess, is the question. That's not to knock, people can choose their own path, whatever, but my goodness, just the energy that you're getting is just not palpable. I don't know.
Yes, it's giving bitter Betty. It's giving bitter Betty. You can feel it. It'd be totally different if you gave a smiling, confident response to what he said and maybe some valid points as to why you disagree with him. But this whole, you need to be canceled because you violate the brand of the Kansas City Chiefs and we need to start signing a petition. It's just, he didn't tell you that you don't have a choice in your life. You can do whatever it is that you want. He encouraged a group of seemingly Catholic women to be Catholic. So there you go. But the commencement speech drama is not over because our very president, Joe Biden, went to Morehouse College, a private black university, or at least historically black university. I think it's mostly black. He went and gave a graduation speech, and he just couldn't let go of that, black part when it comes to Morehouse College. Again, maybe this is what he was asked for as the guest, and they wanted him to focus on this during his speech. But of course, the clips have gone out. They've gone viral. Let's watch.
It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
I love the do we clap for this energy that we're getting at the end of that clip? The sort of pregnant pause clap that precedes what he just said. Let's go through some of the points. As a half black person, I'm allowed to speak on these matters. I'm allowed to say something. Let's put it out there. First of all, black people being killed in the street. By who? With what numbers? How does that compare to the other races that you are not talking about in this speech? And when we look into those things, we find that there is in fact not a targeted effort against black people, and black men in particular, I think, is what he invokes. And then he says a country that's given black people a ton of promises but left the black community behind. Number one, let the black community take accountability for itself in a little ways. It's not always that you are left behind because somebody left you there. Oftentimes it is choices that are being made either culturally or on a community basis that are leaving you behind. But even if we grant that black people have been sold a ton of promises and they've in fact been left behind on those promises, who's selling the promises to black people? Which side of the aisle do you think is most typically invoking blackness and saying, black is powerful and we're going to do this for black people and we're going to bring black people forward in our society and repair everything we've done in the past? Who is responsible for those promises? Then he says black people have to work 10 times as hard to receive the same end as our other racial counterparts. Where is that true? I mean, black people benefit from affirmative action, these diversity quotas, all the DEI programs that exist right now. And in fact, when you look into that and you look into lawsuits that have made it all the way to the Supreme Court in the wake of this, you have black people actually being pedestalized and pushed forward when it comes to being compared to other races like white and Asian Americans, as we've seen in specifically the Harvard lawsuits that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. So where exactly does it make sense? Anything that he just said in that speech towards black people. And it seems like somebody just whispered in his ear, Joe, remember, this is a black audience, pander, 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 and then shoved him out onto the stage. Somebody should have took one of them old school canes that they took when a comedian wasn't funny and yanked his ass off the stage. Now, actually give him the cane so that he can walk off the stage because, he needs that these days. This is literally elder abuse happening right in front of our eyes. So it's hard to even criticize him on the words that he's saying when I know it's just like a pre-made package that he is handed before he does anything on any given day. It's, it's like the breakfast menu that he reads at the nursing home in the morning before they send him out to do this. So it's just ridiculous to watch it happen in real time. And I said the same thing when I watched the Harrison Butker speech. I'm like, okay, I get that you were brought in here to give a commencement speech and you're at a Catholic college, so you want to talk about Catholic things. And I get that Joe Biden was asked to do the commencement speech and he's at a black college, so he's going to talk about black things. But my goodness, set up these young people for success. Tell them about how to lead a fulfilling and happy future. Talk about what adulthood looks like after they're ushered out of college. And if you are doing that correctly, no matter who your audience is, the message should be generally about the same. And you can sprinkle in a little bit of your character, but you kind of want to give them a fun canvas to sort of put their own story on as they leave college and get to paint and create their own lives. All of this like political proselytizing and telling everybody exactly how you feel about any given issue and going black, 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 and America this and America that. It's not what commencement speeches are for. And unfortunately, I think people are getting that messed up. They think they've been given the chance to be on stage, so now it's time to share every single opinion they have about every single matter. It's really supposed to be a pretty neutral ground to just tell people congratulations for what you've done and what you've achieved, and I can't wait to see what you do next. And both of these men, I think, failed on that front.
Yeah, it's not about you, and that's the thing. It's about the people in front of you and really encouraging them in their agency to go out and make a better world and build a life for themselves. And for Biden's speech in particular, you mentioned pandering. It robs them of agency, basically. You're infantilizing them rather than pandering to them. So pandering... never mind.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. He is, because he's like handing them this political statement and telling them exactly how to feel about any given issue. There's other clips of him talking about how they're in a country that is banning books. He fails to mention that these books are, pornographic books that are essentially being handed out to elementary school students in libraries. And he's just telling them that because you're Black and because you've chosen to go to this institution, this is the way that you are meant to feel. And he's using what should be a moment to set himself aside and hand that over to the college students. Instead, he's using it for himself, for his own gains, to sort of convince them of his allegiance to their Blackness. Mind you, students are waking up because they sort of pan the camera over the crowd at Morehouse College, and a lot of students had their backs facing him, which is now an interesting form of protest that is happening at more commencement speeches every single year as students fail to agree with the person who's giving the commencement speech. And we've so politicized schooling and education that I just think this is going to happen more and more and more, where these should be just neutral grounds for celebration, collective celebration of all the different people of different viewpoints who came into one institution and achieved something great. Instead, it's a breeding ground for new political messaging. And no wonder like students don't care about this. You had like a COVID pandemic where so many students were robbed of these major keystones in their lives, and many of them their own graduation. And now the graduations that you do get are just filled with politics and proselytizing and pandering and selling this and that and making statements and protests. Can we just have a normal day, y'all? A normal day of celebration where everybody's happy for one another? No? Okay. I guess we can't. And we'll live through it. There are more clips of Joe Biden, but we're going to move on and get into a conversation about reparations, because I guess, you know what, him going to a Black college and thinking he needs to spin a Black narrative is not too far off from what a lot of people are doing. Here's a clip from ABC News about new, reparations committees who are getting together and discussing what is the monetary value of reparations and how much should we give to Black Americans descendant of slaves.
I'm born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I can't stand this country to what they did to my people.
Wanda Hervey isn't alone in her frustration. One by one, members of Boston's African-American community stepped up to the mic to tell a commission on reparations what the term means to them.
Reparations is cash, it's land, it's education, it's these other functions that are included. It's not just money.
Longtime Boston City Council member Charles Yancey gave the room a history lesson on reparations promised to slaves after the Civil War.
The enslaved people of this country were promised their share of the wealth once the Civil War was over, and that has yet to happen. Let's set the tone for the United States of America right here in the city of Boston.
There is discussion among this commission and white churches in Boston to invest $50 million into the Black community.
We acknowledge the truth of violence perpetuated in stolen lives, stolen land, stolen labor, and make a commitment to work with you to uncover the truth and work for repair.
The number, $15 billion awarded to Boston's African-American community, has been part of the discussion, but that is far from done. The head of this commission describes how they came up with that number.
$15 billion, which is not enough. Every life is incalculable. We think about tens of thousands of slaves who died in the midst of slavery in Boston. How do you put a number on that? They died in slavery while their white counterparts flourished.
We have spoken to the mayor about this topic. She's put together a special task force within City Hall to study this topic and come up with recommendations on what continues to be.
Yeah, what continues to be a giant disaster is what it continues to be, these calls for reparation. And this is just in one small area in the United States. Think about how many different reparations committees and commissions are being set out, and they're having conversations about what these numbers should be. They're coming up with $15 billion. In California, when they were having discussions, I believe in San Francisco, with their whole reparations task force, the trillion was coming up for the numbers when it comes to all the different measures, including, payouts and land and programs for Black people, all these different things that are supposed to be done in the name of reparations. And y'all know how I feel about reparations. Sure, reparations should have been paid to those who were enslaved and then freed, but we have long since passed that. And I don't know how you quantify the supposed damage that still exists in the Black community now as a result of the slave trade and American enslavement. But 15 billion is crazy. And even with that number, they're saying it's not enough. And I can guarantee you, as I say every time we talk about reparations, nothing is ever going to be enough. The narrative is still going to persist long past any payments that end up being agreed upon and paid out to Black Americans, or foundational Black Americans, should I say. Yo, get it together.
And we were joking before this too, because it seems like literally every 3 months or so, whether it's in San Francisco or Portland or whatever, there's some story that has this exact same outline that is brought up, that, there's some activists are demanding reparations and they won't tell you that any number is enough, and yet we'll take it if you give us X million dollars and we'll pocket that, but we still won't let you off the hook. And it's like the point is to paint American history in a bad light, to bring it down, to cast it, and then to perpetuate this tired narrative, the same one that Biden was perpetuating in his speech. That's it's the white guilt, it's Black victims, and we were better off before this was the central narrative that was informing everyone's view in mainstream discourse of what constitutes American history. And the race relations were better, people were happier, people had better outcomes. And feels like the more we focus on this and the more we beat this dead horse, the more division that we experience and the worse outcomes that we generate.
Yep. And not to mention everything this country has already paid out in the name of ending slavery. I mean, we all have heard about what happened during the Civil War. I was going to say we didn't see that. Luckily, we didn't see what happened during the Civil War. But we all read about and learned about the hundreds of thousands of lives lost in the pursuit of the ending of slavery, all the repair that had happened in the United States after that. And I totally understand this idea that reparations should have been paid to those who were enslaved. But baby girl, we are so far distanced from that it is hard to even calculate what a number of good repair would even be. But we'll be back for all the different reparations committees that continue to pop up and all the different crazy numbers that they come up with and they say are still not enough. For this one, it's 15 billion. In California, it's trillions of dollars is not enough. And again, it will never be enough. Now, if I'm going to dish it out to the Democrats, though, I got to dish it out to the conservatives. There's this ad circulating of this woman who's running for Secretary of State in Missouri, Valentina Gomez. And a lot of people find this funny and cute and cheeky or whatever. It has 2 million views. You might watch it. You might appreciate it. Let's see what Valentina has to say.
It's 6 a.m. and I'm doing the 15-mile run from St. Louis City to Cribport, Missouri, without the hundreds of patrons that wanted to join me because I pissed off a bunch of weak and gay people that always find a way to mess things up. So fuck you and what you become, Missouri's 41st Secretary of State. Get it. Made it to Cribsport, Missouri. 15 miles in. I told you I would get it done. No excuses for me. See you on August 6th.
Okay, and there's her with her firearm, and then it says Valentina Gomez, Missouri Secretary of State. Now I am laughing at this. I am laughing, and I'll tell you why I'm laughing. Okay, I get it. In this crazy age of politics or whatever, where we're talking about PC culture and wokeness or whatever, it's so cool for a woman to come out and say that everybody's weak and gay and they need to get over it, and she runs 15 miles for Patriots or whatever, and she tells you to F off and F you, and she's gonna be the Secretary of State, whatever. I get that it's sort of gimmicky and funny and there's some novelty to it. I am so over whatever form of politics this is. I'm gonna be so for real with you now. I was watching the Marjorie Taylor Greene and that other lady go back and forth, and then AOC throw her name in there and start arguing. And what did that lady call Marjorie Taylor Greene? She called her a bleach blonde, bad built, butch bodied. Gosh. Oh, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was telling her she can't read because her false eyelashes are too big. Y'all, I cannot watch any more videos of people who are supposed to be adults. Not only that, people who are supposed to be adults who are vying to represent you. They are trying to represent you, and this is the way that they're speaking, and this is the way that they're acting. And I'll say that for Democrats who do it in their position, and I'll say it for conservatives like this Valentina Gomez, who's calling everybody weak and gay and saying, F you, I'm going to be the Secretary of State or whatever. It's so lame and childish and immature, and I think, unfortunately, we're at a time right now where our attention spans are so small, and we are so... I don't want to even call it ready for change, but just ready to shake things up, that we'll see a video like this and think that this is somehow like, oh, it's empowering. What a powerful thing that this woman is calling people weak and gay in a time of political correctness. It's not. It's cringy. It's immature. It's super childish. And when you think about people who are meant to serve as your public servants, don't you want somebody with a little bit of tact? Don't you want somebody who you think is a little, better than you? When I see a public servant who's supposed to be operating on not only my behalf, but on behalf of all the constituents that live in their area that they are representing, I want you to be better than us, right? I don't want to look at you and think, oh yeah, you remind me of a girl that used to like bully other people in fifth grade. That's literally what it feels like now. Maybe even younger than fifth grade, some of the stuff that we're seeing and hearing out of people who are meant to represent us, out of their mouths. Your money is going to them, and they're meant to be doing things for your life, and they're making campaign ads where they're running around calling people weak and gay, and then they're calling people bleach blonde, bad built, butch bodied, whatever, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that you can't see through your false eyelashes and that's why you can't read, and AOC is going, baby girl, strike her words down. They know the fanfare that this creates. They know that theatrics is what people are looking for, and that's what's going to get the clip, and that's what's going to get people talking. And it's more about performance art now than it is about representing you. So when I see ads like this, oh, you guys are weak and gay, vote for me for the Secretary of State, it sucks that we're even seeing ads like this, but it also sucks that people are like cheering this on, like this is somehow powerful. So many people are saying, oh, we need her in Pennsylvania. I love this woman. This is so bold. This is so brave. It's not bold or brave to call people weak and gay in 2024, hop into a Fortnite lobby and listen to a bunch of 10-year-old boys call each other that for like 6 hours straight. There's nothing powerful about it. What's powerful is to actually respect yourself and have dignity and fight for a position of public service despite the trashness that's going on right now, and do so in a way that is respectable. And so very few people are capable of doing it now that we are cheering on people who make campaign ads like this. So no, Valentina Gomez, I don't want to see you be the Secretary of State in Missouri, and I'll put that out there. I never endorse, but I will de-influence. And I want to de-influence whatever brand of political conservatism, political Democrat, whoever is acting like this, de-influence. Please, get out of here. Leave the door.
We asked you guys, the weekend gay ad, do you approve? disapprove? And if so, how do you feel about it? And 39% of you said I approve and it's hilarious. 39% say I disapprove, but it was still funny. And 23% say I disapprove, also not funny. I think I'm in camp B of disapprove, but it was still funny. When I first saw this, I thought this looks like an SNL sketch that is actually kind of funny. But it doesn't translate into me wanting to support this candidate and considering her ideas and her platform, whatever it is, to be something that is worthy of my advocacy and support. It's just those dots don't really connect. But you're right. I think this is just part and parcel of the time in which we live that I think has really crested in the post-Trump era. But we also have the factor of social media, audiences, and polarization and all this stuff. And if you just go out and do stuff that plays to your audience and does, violates political correctness or triggers the other side or whatever, then you're going to get an enthusiastic response for people who are like, yeah, you're violating social convention and you're doing that, you're doing the unexpected and you're dunking on the side that I don't like, or dunking on things that they do that I don't like. And I think to an extent there's room for that in politics, but when that becomes everything and when this becomes more than just like a throwaway, like funny post, and it translates into like, this is how we actually engage with each other in political discourse, or as a substitute for actual political discourse, we're just doing this dunking things and playing to our own audiences and, getting out, putting our strong men out there and rah. It's counterproductive, and it's not leading us back to a place where we're having a serious political landscape, serious discussions, actual pluralism, actual using our speech and arguments to reason with one another, come to consensus and compromises, and figure out how to, navigate this crazy pirate ship that we are on together. That is American politics. And that's really the goal here. And I don't think that this serves that in the end, but I did laugh.
Yeah, I laughed to keep from crying. I laughed to keep from crying in this. I like the natural progression of this. If we continue down this path of cheering people on that do stuff like this and giving them 1 million views and saying, this is so great, I want her to come to my state and represent us as Secretary of State or whatever. The natural progression is you are going to get the people who are willing to do the craziest stuff for their campaign ads to be the representative for your side, because those are the people who are going to gain traction. And politics is largely about gaining traction and getting views and having people know your name. So on the right, it's going to be people who are like, you're weak, you're gay, let's bring back the word retard and all this different stuff. And then they're going to be like, here's my huge gun. And it's going to be the most salacious, just crazy stuff you can do to upset the other side while also getting conservatives to cheer for you. And then for leftists, it's going to be like, who is the most trans, who is like the gayest man or whatever with the biggest hair and the biggest dress and the biggest nails, who's going to say the craziest thing about wanting to indoctrinate kids or whatever. And then they're going to throw that up as a campaign ad to piss off conservatives and rile up the base. And then that's what you're going to get. And if we continue to just give treats to people who do this and incentivize this sort of behavior, which is just so childish, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And we're going to be feeding it because we give them the reaction that they want. Boo, boo. Where's my button? Oh, tomato. I'm throwing tomatoes. Now, lastly, guys, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed. Now, I'm not a video game player. This is not my thing whatsoever. But this has been gaining a lot of traction because they have this new Assassin's Creed that's coming out where you can explore 16th century Japan through the eyes of an outsider. Yasuke, I guess is how you say this guy's name. Now, he is a black samurai. I'll show you some of the visuals here. There he is with his dreads. Boom. And this is supposed to be, 16th century Japan, where you can be this character and explore the world through his eyes. Now, of course, this went wild because people were saying, black samurai. I've never heard of a black samurai. That doesn't quite make sense. And if you're going to be showing people a representation of Japan, why would you not have an actual Japanese samurai? And in fact, a lot of Japanese people were actually pissed about this, and it's creating sort of a rift, I guess, where people are arguing back and forth as to whether or not this is okay. Now, I heard a lot of discourse about this, saw so many videos. And apparently there actually was a black samurai of sorts, or an African samurai named Yasuke, that this character is based off of. And there's an article out of the Smithsonian Magazine that you guys can go and check out, where they talk about this black samurai. But yeah, in 16th century Japan, the title of samurai spoke to rank and was loosely defined as a warrior in the service of a lord or another warrior. And in 1581, apparently this guy named Nobunaga found Yasuke and was particularly interested in his skin type, had never seen a black man like him before, told him to go. They tried to wash this guy because they were like, black skin, this doesn't make sense. He's got to be white under there. He's got to look like more, I guess, Japanese under everything they just got going on. And had him go and wash his skin to no avail. And he was fascinated by this black guy who was, I guess, tactically very formidable, and he ended up becoming a warrior, and that is where the story is based off of. Now, is an African samurai or warrior a rarity? Like, it is a historical novelty. There's no doubt about that. And it is interesting that in focusing on this, you choose to find this like one kernel of history in order to give yourself a black samurai. But I will, to their credit, say that this guy seemingly existed, according to the Smithsonian Mag and many other historical writings on his existence. I will just say it's sort of obvious what's being done here. I mean, even if you can back it up historically, it's very interesting that you go and sift through history to find a black samurai, and then you make Assassin's Creed, which it's meant to be focused on, you know, the feudal system in Japan in the 16th century and all this stuff, and you choose to create the black character. And some of the marketing surrounding this Assassin's Creed game sort of tells you all you need to know. It says here, become a legendary samurai. As the charismatic samurai Yasuke, strike your foes with brutal precision and power. Use his combat-oriented skills to attack, block, parry, and defeat your enemies. Master the vast arsenal of weapons at your disposal, featuring katana, kanabo, bows, I don't know how to say that, naginata, and more, to free Japan from its oppressors. Now, of course, I think in all the Assassin's Creed games, they sort of have this oppressed narrative, or just like in how in many video games you have the villain and the protagonist. But again, the language is very interesting. The language is very interesting to say, to free Japan from its oppressors, and you get to play this black samurai that is a historical novelty in order to do it, but it is their right. Now, if you look into the background of this Assassin's Creed game and who the writers are, it's like a ton of intersectional feminists of all different colors. It's like actually a ton of women that came together to write this Assassin's Creed game. And of course, none other than Sweet Baby Inc. pops up when you go and search into all this. And we've spoken about Sweet Baby Inc. and how they sort of infiltrated gaming, and they're working on being narrators within the gaming space and essentially pushing a whole ton of wokeness and diversity and talk of privilege and oppressor and oppressed narratives into nearly every single game that they are working on. And we've seen this. This has been happening in video games for quite some time, and people have gotten behind the scenes videos of game developers and people who create narratives saying just flat out, we want to tell more stories of people of color. We want more representation for obesity and disability, and it sucks to work with white people, and we need to start encouraging conversations of diversity, equity, and inclusion. As the Sweet Baby Inc., I guess, CEO said, or founder, she goes, you know, if these conversations make them uncomfortable, we can sort of force them to have them, and essentially say that there's no other choice than to push forward with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, with all that being said, yes, this black samurai seems to be a somewhat historically significant figure. At the very least, he existed historically. But also, I see what you're doing, Assassin's Creed. I know. I like that you did the little extra research points of actually finding a historically accurate figure to depict here. But I still see you. The glasses are on today because I see you.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add other than even if you grant them the premise that, there's a lot of debate back and forth of, he's a historical figure, blah, blah, blah. As I understand, traditionally Assassin's Creed as a franchise doesn't use actual historical figures as leads in their games. This is like a break from that tradition. And of course, it's a break to do that for a person who happens to be black in feudal Japan. It's like that's the time that they decide to make this happen. So it just, where there's smoke, there's fire, and we know who's running a lot of these development studios. You can see from the pictures, you can see from their statements, you can see from their pronouns in their bios and what their ideology is. And it's no surprise when this kind of stuff shows up in gaming. And it is unfortunate. I know that like the A-list games, many of them and many big studios have been struggling financially for a variety of reasons, but I'm sure these sort of takeover of these types of blue-haired people in the gaming space is not helping it appeal to the basic fundamentals that make for the good gaming experience that has drawn so many in. And that's all I'll say about this. Is this the thing to be crazy outraged about? Probably not, but it is just yet another, chapter in the book of seeing an opportunity to build something around this notion of diversity. And of course, that's where we have to go out of our way to go to.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, people are going to either play or not play the game. I think for Ubisoft, this is a pretty important game as far as their financial trajectory. So we'll see if people engage with it. And when they do, if they find more than what is being, projected out, which seems to be just a lot of wokeness that they've gotten better at sort of covering up and shielding, but still exists. So I can't imagine that doesn't show up in some way, shape, or form in the game. So we shall see. This could, I guess, make or break them as a company in large part. So y'all check it out. I don't know if we don't have any Assassin's Creed players in the chat, but I'm sure you guys will let us know.
Or Japanese
down
people.
below.
Let us know how you feel about that.
Yeah, or Japanese people. How do you feel about the Black Samurai depiction? Again, if he's actually historically accurate figure, that's at the very least, I will applaud that they have actually depicted something that is real, because so often it's just, we'll take a period in history that we have interest in or the audience has interest in, and we'll promise them something from that period in history, but we're just going to swap out every single detail that we don't like and fill it with stuff that is historically inaccurate, while also telling the audience that it is somehow historically accurate. And they'll say, a historian, with schizophrenia from 1983 wrote a paper once about how, Queen Charlotte was actually black. At least they're not doing that. So I will give the credit where it's due, and at least they can receive that credit. But I still see exactly what's going on. And now, guys, we're gonna get into your super chats. Let's hear from you guys on these matters.
All righty. Timothy, he's been first a few times lately. So he says, seeing those two women reminds me of the meme POV. You're about to hear the worst opinion ever. Whenever they come on my screen, I brace myself. LMAO.
I've seen them too.
I don't have that meme.
I don't know what their podcast is, but those two older white women, I think they're moms and married and all that fun stuff. But every time I see their podcast clips, I'm like, this is the most atrocious take I've heard on a cultural matter in a very, very long time. But they sure say them with confidence.
They're married moms, and they're upset with Harrison Butker speech.
I think they are married moms, but I think very bitter, resentful married moms. Yeah.
Eric Brown says, as an atheist that played football at Benedictine, Butker's speech is very on brand for the values of the college.
Yeah, I mean, I did like a quick Google search. I'm like, hey, yeah, Catholic institution, liberal arts college, it seems. That totally makes sense. I'm way more curious now about your experience going there as an atheist. It seems like an interesting choice of higher education. Yeah.
Well, maybe it made you atheist being there. Who knows?
Right.
Grace Porter says Catholics have two types of vocation: marriage or priesthood, and vocation what you do for a living. Also, it's encouraging that if I do decide not to use my degree, I don't lose my value.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting part of it. I never really thought about it in that light, that if you don't, that the sort of opposite is true now, that if you get the education and decide you don't want to use it, you still have value, whereas a lot of people will say, you don't. And I think that is the underlying narrative of why would you get so upset that he's cheering on a wife that decided to be a homemaker and wanted to have his children and support him through his career and, you know, make him a better man, according to his own testimony. Why would that deeply upset you if you don't feel some type of way about the value of women who make that choice? She, like the older woman in the first video, says, I feel bad that your wife has to sleep with you. Why? She's making a choice with a man that she's presumably attracted to and wanted to marry. Why does that make you feel bad for her? Just an interesting way of actually, through condemning him, demeaning his wife, which a lot of people aren't discussing.
Yeah, poor woman whose husband makes millions of dollars in professional sports.
Right.
All she has to do is whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
Which could be pursuing a business if she wanted. So, I mean,
I think she's chilling.
Silly. Yeah, she's doing just fine. John Jackson Greiger says, I'll have you know that I'm a completely normal, well-adjusted person with completely normal bodily proportions, and I'm in no way weird or creepy, Taylor.
Wait, what?
Was this? I think maybe this was in reference to a previous super chat from another show that I think had something that I called creepy directed at you. Maybe I feel like that was maybe last week something happened, but anyways,
it's letting us know he's totally normal. I'll take it. I agree.
You're off
Probably are.
Thank you for that clarification, though, and we're glad you're here. A scout in the Bradley says women have a superpower. It's called being a mother. Why are people not calling him out when tell men to be better fathers and husbands?
Why are people not telling him to tell men to be better fathers and husbands, I think?
Yeah, it's why are people not calling him out when tell men to be better fathers and husbands?
I'm a little confused, but I think it's one of the common criticisms that he's getting, that if he's going to talk about women and what they should and should not do, maybe he should discuss what men do. Now, I didn't watch his full commencement speech, and I'm not going to, because I don't have time to be sitting through other people's graduations. But I would hope that there is some sort of reference to how to be a better man and how he functions as the counterpart with his wife. But yeah, I don't know. Your commencement speech should be about how to be just better people in general, and how to take the skills that you've gained through college and use them and in your normal adult life. But here we are.
Fifi Gigantor says the entire idea of reparations is stupid. Since when do we punish kids for the sins of their ancestors? Clearly not many history fans.
Yeah, I know. That's like, what is it called? Kin punishment. Heavily practiced in China and North Korea. So I don't know if that's what we want to be doing here. I completely agree with you. Kids, and not only kids, just anybody, should not be punished for the actions of their ancestors.
The 03 Musketeer says, first time catching y'all live. Great to know there are still others using common sense. Taylor, I've recently started taking volleyball fairly seriously. Any tips?
Ooh, what do you got, Taylor?
I don't know. Beach volleyball is what I play, but even, I guess it holds true in any sport, but go out of your way to develop fundamentals and really practice those things. I just played a lot to get better, and that was fun, but I could be better now if I had worked harder on mastering each skill needed earlier on, and then put those together. And then also, as you get older, and even if not getting older, you can just get hurt just from playing. I broke my foot once, and just don't take for granted that your body works, and be very grateful that it does, and go out of your way to keep it working well with mobility and different, stretching and exercises and things like that. Because now my entire workout routine has evolved from I'm going to get yoked to I just want to keep being able to do the things I love to do and, be able to perform as well as I can on the court. And now that I'm in my 30s, it's, it's fighting against gravity a little bit. So
times are getting tougher.
Times are getting tough. John Jackson Greiger says, my neck is not too long. I have an extra vertebrae like the glasses. Did someone say something about
who is getting bullied?
What is happening here?
I don't know what is going on. We did get a $50.
I'm sorry if something was said about your proportions. I didn't mean that.
I know. I'm sure you are totally proportionally normal.
Scott and Bradley sends us $50 super chat and says, in his speech, he tells men to be better fathers and husbands.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you are so right. I saw somebody else say that he referenced how like fathers do need to be in the home and the importance of that, and how men need to play active roles within their families. Thank you for putting that in the super chat and letting us know, because yeah, it would be weird to just like come and make a speech and be like, I specifically want to talk to the women today. I think you want to be even-handed in your advice.
Yeah, and that's, of course, all we saw was the clip of his take for the women.
Of course.
So, there you go.
Naturally.
Timothy W. says, also just finished The Righteous Mind and Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal by Ayn Rand. Both were awesome. Next to Discrimination and Disparities, #WBooks.
Nice. I've read Discrimination and Disparities. I've read half of The Rational Mind. That's a
Righteous Mind.
Oh, The Righteous Mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information in that book. When I first read like the first 2 chapters, I was like, this is like a fire hose of information. And it's on a subject matter that I don't know that much about. So it's like a lot to take in. I had to pause a lot during that book and like sit and think as I was reading it.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite like books as far as like how to think about modern political discourse. It's about moral intuitions and moral psychology and how that supersedes our rational minds very often in heated discussions, and how to be rational in spite of your own, and be aware of your own moral intuitions that can override your rationality. It's very good.
It's fascinating.
I haven't read the Ayn Rand one.
Me neither.
But yeah, love the books. Thank you for chiming in, Timothy. Ryan Griego says, different opinions don't force agreement. Leftists obsess over Israel, transgender privileges, and sexism, but say nothing about Islamic theocracies killing women, gays, Jews, Nigerian Christians, and other religious minorities.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that just doesn't get a peep, and we sort of focus on what we've been told to focus on, and that's something that I felt has been really interesting investigating in myself, but also in other people, of just like how fabricated a lot of our existence is because of the powers that be in the media and what we consume, that sort of funnels us in directions of what to care about and what to speak about. And there's just so much else going on in the world that just so often doesn't see the light of day. I'm hoping to interview an Iranian woman on this show who has been fighting her entire life against the hijab laws that exist in the Middle East, and this imposition on women to cover your hair. And she's led quite an insane life in the pursuit of that, and has just an amazing story. So hopefully she will be on this show very soon.
There you go. 35 Never Felt So Good said, so for guys who have a hard time cold approaching women, Amala and Tay, what are 2 good reasons as to why a girl might accept a guy's offer to dance?
As to why a girl might accept a guy's offer to dance. I don't know. Would I accept a guy's offer to dance? I don't think I would. I honestly don't think I would. It depends on where you're at now. Like, and
I think we can presume he means at the club.
Yeah.
So
like,
where people go to dance.
I would, yeah. Even I go out to dance places, and if I was single, which I'm not, I would not dance with a man if I went out to go places, specifically the club too, because it's just, I don't know, I like to go to hip hop places too, so that type of dancing that leads to is not conducive for anything healthy. If you're like at like a pop place listening to like, I don't know, rock music or 80s disco or something like that, maybe that's different. But what would get a woman? I think you just gotta approach it in like a super friendly, I always say this, be super friendly. You're having the conversation to become friends and get to know this individual, not to like get their number or to dance or to go on a date. Just like start with that intent, and a woman will gauge that intent in you if it's really there and if you give off that energy, and that puts you in the best position to lead to other things like dancing and having a good time and getting a number and getting a date. But I would never like cold ask a woman if she wants to dance. Not in today's time. Back in the day, that's a totally different thing where that was totally normal to just like walk up and be like, hey, you want to dance? I don't know that I would ever do that today. To
like,
be honest,
like Night at the Roxbury, where they're like,
yeah, exactly. Like, where the ladies are on one side of the room and the guys are on the other, and it was like encouraged to mingle in that way. It's just not. I don't know if that's just like the cultural move.
It shouldn't catch them off guard. Is a good maybe rule of thumb. Like, establish some kind of rapport, diffuse the awkwardness of talking to another human who you don't know in that context first, and then maybe shoot your shot once she doesn't perceive you as like a weirdo or a threat or in some way.
Yeah. And that's all in body language and reading social cues, which is not easy for everybody, but like there will always be tells of interest. If she's not keeping eye contact with you, if she's giving you one word answers to your questions, if she's not smiling and, being super approachable in her response to you, she's not interested. And a lot of guys will like try to push through that barrier and be like, I can do more, or I can ask her another question or whatever, and it's gonna like alter things. If you feel that vibe from a woman, it's done. It's basically done for the most part.
Take the hint.
As somebody says, especially if she screams and calls for the cops. Yes. Yeah, definitely a sign that your time is done.
And go baby reindeer on him.
Yeah, baby reindeer.
Let's see. Matthew N says, hey guys, I keep a notepad with not yet known but intelligent sounding words that you two use in these lives. Thank you for helping me sound smarter.
Hey, very cool. I do that when I read books. Every time I'm reading a book and I get to a word I don't know, I immediately have to look it up, which is why it takes me forever to read books, because there's so many words I don't know. So I just sit there and like go through reading the dictionary.
Totally relate to that. Yeah. Keep my phone handy and just am constantly Googling things, but it does slow you down. But I'm curious what words we're using that are so big.
Yeah, you have to let us know what words are you putting in your notebook. I'm so curious.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
There we go. Write that one down.
Raised by Wolves says, people have been asking for a Japanese Assassin's Creed game for a while, so they're like, sure, here you go. Yes, we see you.
Right. So they're like, I know that you guys have all long been asking for a Japanese samurai version of this game. Here's an African one. Which is, at least it's still set in Japan, and I think there's like Japanese culture surrounding everything that's happening. So I don't know. I don't play video games, so I don't know how impactful this actually is.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, like, I know they made one called Valhalla about Vikings. Like, was it presumably you'd want to play as a Viking, and one that's true to history, and they didn't take like there's in the Vikings show, they had like a random person who might have been from Africa that they put in as like this queen figure, and they didn't pick that person to be the protagonist of the game. So I don't know, just it's strange. And I do get the point. Like, if you're a Japanese person and you're like, oh yeah, finally they're gonna make one of these awesome games in my culture, and they pick someone who was like at best an immigrant to your culture, and not really representative of the native culture and the 99.99999% of people who were part of that culture. Like,
it's kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's just strange, man. But we know why it's strange. Okay, Celtic Blacksmith says, first day of trying to work out during your lives, cardio during the live, free weights during the super chat. I remember now why I hate cardio.
Nice. Cardio during the live. That's a long, an hour's worth of cardio. That's no joke. I couldn't do that. I don't have the endurance for such a thing. I can do like 10 minutes on the Stairmaster max at the beginning of a workout, and then that's it.
Yeah. Are you walking? Yeah. I got my wife one of those like walking treadmills that you can put in front of a TV and just
and just go for it.
She's been trying to get her steps in, but some days it rains a lot here in Nashville, and it's really hot in the summer, really cold in the winter, and she is sensitive to weather, so we got one of those. But that's about the level of cardio I could be doing. Although I don't know, you can like put your headphones in and go to town. So
yeah. That's clutch. That's clutch.
Let us know what you're doing, Celtic. Are you blacksmithing? Are you just hammering an anvil over and over again for your cardio? Yeah. Scout and Bradley says in his speech, we got that one. 35 never felt so good says, Taylor, your entire workout routine? What workout routine? You're one sandwich away from looking like a brute from Halo, LOL, but not in a good way.
Alex is always trying to shop.
I mean, dude, you were just talking about going from like 300 pounds to 230 or something, which is a great accomplishment. But why are you shooting at me? I'm not, I'm on the south side of 200.
Oh my gosh!
Like, you calling somebody a brute?
People...
Pot calling the kettle black.
There we go. This is the an ongoing fight in the super chats. For those of you who don't know, Alex and Taylor play video games on the weekends. Yeah. He's a regular on the show, so this is okay. This is not bullying. Bullying is totally okay if you guys both do it to each other, I think. So they say.
Here. It's friendly banter.
Yes.
Friendly male banter that the feminists are trying to ban from video game lobbies.
Exactly.
Let's see. B Mad says, Amala looking even more intelligent with those glasses. I didn't think it was possible. You and Taylor make me feel sane with the live stream.
Hell yeah. I'm looking extra studious. I'm looking studious today. I look like I know 100 more words than I actually do today.
Mary Natuta says, or Nauta says, nothing to add, just love you and what you do.
Oh, thank you. That's so very sweet, Mary. Appreciate that.
Emily Ziegler says, I'm a mom of 4 kids and was in mortuary school and working when diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now that I'm beating it, I'd rather stay home to homeschool my kids and study alongside them instead of going back to school/work.
Hell yeah. I love that for you. I don't love, obviously, the cancer part. That sounds very, very difficult. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. But it's interesting that people don't give voice to these sorts of dynamics that exist within everybody's lives. Life happens and it alters what you want. And we view things as so black and white. Or a woman who wants to stay home with her kids is just like a subservient this and that. But there's so many different, practical applications of a life like this, including the one that you just explained. And life can just set you on a different trajectory with so many different things. Some things as horrible as cancer. And it leads you to make different choices. And you know what? Staying with your kids and studying whilst taking care of them is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than going to school and getting the experience in person.
Here, and I'm glad to hear that you are beating the cancer. Clee Be Doomed just sends a super chat, no message. Thank you for that. And Eric Brown says, that following up on his previous super chat, says, Benedictine as an atheist was very tough. I am generally accepting of others' views, but that feeling was not reciprocated. I was mainly there for football. Long story short, I gave it 2 seasons, 3 semesters before leaving. With my new free time, I got a theater minor. Leaving was good for me.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think when you're so that's diametrically opposed to your worldview, it's kind of hard to be surrounded in a college. I think it's good to have yourself challenged, but to constantly be in an institution that is not particularly supportive of your worldview is probably a difficult thing to go through. It's kind of like fighting upstream your entire college education. So yeah, I totally get that. That might be a little rough.
And presumably he got there on a scholarship to play football.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So yeah, it's a tough battle.
Yeah.
Celtic Blacksmith says, I averaged 3.8 miles per hour on the treadmill, and I've been blacksmithing every week for my channel anyway. And I've been smoking for 18 years, hence the wheezing.
Oof, yeah, that'll do it. You got a little bit of that smoker's lung going on the treadmill. Hopefully it fights it off a little bit.
Yeah. 3.8 miles per hour. Is that fast? I feel like that's not super fast. It's a brisk walk is what that strikes me on.
Yeah. You could jog a little bit at 3.8 maybe.
But an hour of that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That'll burn you some calories.
That's a lot.
Get the blood flowing. All right, last one I'm seeing here is third. Alex again says, it's not the pot calling the kettle black when I got confused for the new Superman actor. Had to get a permit for these 2 guns because they're lethal.
Oh my gosh, Alex. We love the confidence that you have in your super chats, in your looks maxing journey. And I hope everybody gains that same confidence for themselves and gets to carry it with them throughout the world and just going to clubs and asking girls to dance and all that fun stuff within reason. As I said, I don't know that I would cold ask a woman to dance, but Alex seemingly finding success, especially among the Latinas, as he lets us know in the super chats. But guys, that is our show for today. I hope you enjoyed. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below about the Harrison Butker commencement speech, the Biden commencement speech at Morehouse College, how you feel about the reparations conversations, and lastly, Assassin's Creed and the Black Samurai. We did get one more super chat from Timothy. He said, did y'all see the thing about the Iranian president telling him, Tehillim 1:2:3 or 1:2:1:3:4, behold, for the guardian of Israel never slumbers or sleeps. I don't know the last reference. I'll have to look into into that specific verse that you're citing there. But yes, I did hear about the Iranian president. He was in a helicopter, and that helicopter crashed, and he is presumably dead. So there's going to be a lot changing in Iran, but I believe there's one person above him in powers, a supreme something, that is alive still today.
That's the Ayatollah, or that's the religious leader?
I'm not sure what his name is. It's supreme something.
Khomeini?
Somebody will let us know down below, and I don't even know what his name is, but apparently there's going to be obviously some sort of power shift that exists. But there is one more guy in the hierarchy above him. Supreme Leader, thank you for that, Music Man. 9434, who is still very much with him. But people were saying, like, oh, this is the CIA who killed him and all this different stuff. I don't know. I guess U.S. intelligence said that there was no foul play involved, and that apparently they were told multiple times that the different winds and the weather that you are going to be flying into this helicopter is a no-go. And they were like, we're actually going to go through that, and that didn't work out. So, R.I.P. to that man. R.I.P. to that man.
A couple more coming in here.
Yes. Do you want to read them?
Sure. Alex says, I cold approach literally everywhere.
See, that's the thing. I think there's a formula for a lot of guys where, like, if you're just cold approaching a bunch of women, you just over and over and over, your success rate is going to be, like, pretty up there. I mean, you can't really, somebody's gonna say yes to
Maybe
that.
you get better at it.
Yeah, where like if you're gonna go out and only talk to a couple women, I maybe wouldn't cold open with asking them to just straight up dance. I might be a little bit more strategic in the approach. But if you're like, I'm cold opening everywhere, I want a Latina woman to dance with me, then you know what? You go out there and you find her. It's all about what you want.
And 1800 Young Trash says, stop being humble. You're just delaying opening a P.O. box because you know that if you did, we would overwhelm you with tons of presents on June 16th. Boo, tomato, tomato. Go open a P.O. box before June 16th.
June 16th. How do y'all know my birthday? That is my birthday. It is June 16th. Maybe I mentioned that on the show before. I really do just need to go drop off the paperwork at the post office. I've had so many things going on. This past weekend, I went to Florida, and I do have a special guest that's going to be showing up on the show, maybe on Wednesday, because he's been undergoing a lot of stress. But my man got me a puppy, and he's so cute, and his name is Charlie. So Charlie might be hanging out on the show. So we were literally flying back last night from Florida, from Orlando, Florida, to LA. We landed at like 11:30 with this puppy who was so stressed in the process of getting, across the country. So we've been dealing with that. I haven't had time to go and drop off any paperwork, but hopefully y'all get a Charlie reveal on Wednesday.
They're already demanding for it.
Yeah.
So. Now you gotta follow through on the Charlie reveal and the P.O. box.
Yeah. Okay. Charlie will be here Wednesday.
List of homework.
Hopefully. To see you guys. He's got a vet appointment on Wednesday afternoon, so as long as he's chilling, we'll have him on Wednesday's show. And with that, guys, I actually do have to end the show now. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Plus, we post videos for you guys every single day. Tomorrow is a viral video of a young woman who's 29 years old, and she ain't found her mans yet. And she's saying, where's my mans? I'm doing all this stuff in my life. I need my mans. So we're going to give her some advice. You guys will give her some advice in the comments. Let's be nice to her and hopefully usher her into a world of success in her love life. And then on Wednesday, y'all can meet Charlie. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Bye.